I hope you're not having a good day, because I would hate to ruin it with this. This is just, it's one of those stories that makes your blood curdle, makes your blood boil. Like, it's just one of those things that you read, you see a headline, and you're like, God, I hope it's not as bad as it is, but it actually is that bad. We're taking a little field trip to the Czech Republic here, because that is where that's where all this deplorable stuff has gone down. And it's not necessarily, not blaming the Czech Republic for this one. The activism on display from the Czech Republic has been admirable, and the way they're trying to address this and change laws and stuff. But shout out to the Guardian, also Tom Gary, for having this article. The situation is basically Peter Vlachovsky, who is a guy. He was the coach of the Czech under-19 women's national team at some point, but he was also the coach of FC Slovácko. He coached the women's team for FC Slovácko. Obviously, this is the sort of thing that makes sense. If you've already coached the Czech U19 women's national team, that you end up coaching, various clubs that, are associated in the region. He's a big, right. This is not some sort of, not that would make it any better, but this is a big time coach in women's football in the Czech Republic, right? In that kind of Central Eastern European area, would have been regarded as a man with standing and as a man with reputation in the women's football in that area. He was convicted in May of 2025. I didn't hear about this, of basically secretly filming female players in the changing rooms and in the showers with a hidden camera, which is just one of the really, truly horrifying things that has come out of the modern era, is the idea that it is possible for somebody to do this. But the amount of trust and the amount of authority that a coach has to then also be involved in this sort of, just, I can't, you can see me looking for the right word. I can't even, it's just unconsensual. You know what I mean? Like, just this dirty, defiling behavior, right? There's just something so deeply debased about it being the coach, about it being a coach that has so much standing, about it being somebody with this kind of gravitas that ends up recording people. But this has already happened. Obviously, he was convicted in May of 2025. Why am I talking about it now? Obviously, it's horrible, just kind of revolting, right? Why I'm talking about it now is this guy has not been banned for life from being a football coach. And the whole reason for me to make this video is to continue to amplify the call for this guy to be banned. So after he was convicted of recording 14 players at FC Slovácko over a 4-year period, he was also caught in possession of child sexual abuse material. I don't necessarily know what that means, but there is no possible outcome of the combination of those words that's a good thing. It's definitely awful. I just don't know exactly what it means. The youngest victim was 17 years of age. Obviously, this varies by country, but in the United States, the hard line in the US is 18, right? And if you're under 18, you're a child. This dude, from my American perspective, was in here recording a child in the shower, right? Like, strip away the coach and the football and whatever. Diabolically bad. Now, he was given a 1-year suspended prison sentence. So in the land of wickedly aggressive incarceration, I'm just not really familiar with how that stuff works. It sounds pretty similar to the tax evasion punishments that guys in Spain get, where it's like a 1-year suspended prison sentence. You basically just don't go to prison. And he was given a 5-year domestic coaching ban. And that was it. And let me tell you, that's fucking diabolical. Right, because there's a huge difference here, right? There's a huge difference here between, and I'm going to draw like a loose equivalence between a situation like Mason Greenwood's and this guy, and Peter Vlachovsky here. In that Mason Greenwood, for all of the horrible evidence that came out, and just the fact that I would probably be uncomfortable sitting in the same room with the guy just given all of that stuff that I've seen, he was never convicted in a court of law. Not a civil case, a court of law, right? For some reason, in the world of football, we end up talking about this a lot and the differences perhaps between the two. This is like beyond a reasonable doubt, court of law, proven as proven can be in the modern world, convicted of a crime. Based off the evidence and the arguments and all, he was convicted of this crime, which is a level of certainty even beyond the one that exists around somebody like Mason Greenwood's situation. That's why I brought that up, right? This went to court. He was convicted of filming 14 players, the youngest of whom was 17, over a 4-year period. Not that it would make too much of a difference, but this wasn't one lapse in judgment. It wasn't his wife left him and he got really depressed and decided, you know what? I'm going to record women in the shower, right? Like this was 4 years, 14 people, youngest one was 17. He was convicted. The penalties feel real light to me, but there should be a one-strike policy when it comes to this. That's why I keep pointing out the conviction. I do not want there to be a one-strike policy in he said, she said situations. As much as that's painful to say, if it is just a he said, she said situation, not like actually a he said, she said situation, not one of those where the guy's going, well, it's a he said, she said, but it, there's evidence and shit. And you've got actual, you've got an actual conviction of somebody who is coaching a team, men's, women's, youth, senior, who gives a shit. And they were in some way sexually abusing the members of that team to the point that it is a literal conviction. And don't get it twisted, recording somebody in the shower, that's sexually abusing them, right? In any definition you can come up with, right? It's, I guess, victimizing them would be, I have no clue. I'm just another person trying to come up with the words to describe why this is wrong or draw this line somewhere. There should be a lifetime ban for that. Lifetime ban. The guy was doing it for 4 years. You're going to tell me after a 5-year sentence, he's not going to, not to mention, he shouldn't have a job. Nobody should hire him. Even if there isn't such a thing as a lifetime ban, I would be disgusted by any club or any institution or whatever that hired this guy at all in any capacity. This is a crime of which he was convicted that violates the holiest element of trust that you could possibly have in a coaching position. I am aware of the fact that he coached a youth national team at the women's level, and the guy probably is decent at tactics and player development. Player development, it doesn't matter a lot when you're convicted of filming girls in the shower, okay? I am blown away that there isn't a kind of one-stop shop, just you can't coach anymore after this. I mean, a 5-year domestic ban is laughable, right? Now, FIFPro is pushing to make this a lifetime ban because the Czech criminal proceedings and the Czech FA's administrative proceedings are separate and can run in parallel. The union is challenging the FA to implement a lifetime football ban for Blakovsky and all sexual offenders. FIFPro is exploring possible legal avenues on behalf of players to achieve a global ban. The sentence of 1 year's suspended imprisonment with 3-year deferral does not send the right signal. The 5-year ban on coaching, only applicable in the Czech Republic, is also insufficient. The ban from coaching is where I really believe our focus should be at, jointly with FIFPro and other stakeholders. Yeah, I'm not sitting here trying to change the laws of the Czech Republic. If those are the laws, he was convicted of this. The laws say whatever, the 1-year deferred prison sentence for 3 years. I don't know what any of that means. I won't pretend that I do. But the one thing that I do understand is the coaching ban here. And that's where I'm going to try and push the world. And I think all of us should, generally try to push the world in a direction of, if you're convicted of sexual crimes around a team that you are coaching, you should never be able to coach again in any FIFA registered club. And I think that it's got to be the easiest slam dunk of all time sitting here. The easiest slam dunk of all time. Our goal is to use this case to push for an amendment that will call for a lifetime ban for all sexual offenders. A one-strike policy must apply, and a lifetime ban must be the only option. FIFPro's announcement comes after a former official at an Austrian club was given a suspended prison sentence and fined 1,200 euros after being found guilty of taking secret videos and photographs from the changing room, gym, and showers of the Altosh women's football team. He was also told to pay the victims 625 euros each in compensation. That's weird. As is the case in the Czech Republic, there was anger at the leniency of the sentence, with the former Altosh player Eleni Rittman saying, "This leaves me speechless." The perpetrator was not only a top-level referee in Switzerland, but also an official at Altosh, and that is where he filmed players, including minors. I then asked myself, is this an appropriate punishment? I'll answer it for you, Eleni. No. Look, I'm sure I and everyone could go on about just what the fuck is going on here, but yeah, there needs to be a lifetime ban. And FIFPro also brings up something important. It's also understood that they're pushing for enhanced safeguard measures in the coaching industry and greater information sharing between countries when coaches are found guilty in cases such as these. So the idea that coaches might try to go to a different country, use their credentials to get a job again if they've already fallen into a I might have gotten convicted of this sort of thing, and now I'm going to try to go to another country and hope they don't hear about it. So maybe creating a database or just an information sharing apparatus. All of this is good. FIFPro's moving in the right direction. The players and the vocal people in the Czech Republic that have been pushing this forward are moving in the right direction. You need to just ban. You got until 2030 to figure out how to ban this guy from being able to ever coach again for such an obvious, serious, nasty, disgusting, gross offense, right? And then making sure that other people that are involved in the same thing, particularly when it's involving minors. I mean, you can't just 5 years? Really?